I wanted to talk about how so many of us women struggle to own our power. What is that about? And what are the dangers of us not owning our power? Now, society and family, schooling, conditioning has led us to believe that the more selfless we are, the more caring we are, the more of a homemaker or pleasant or sweet or pleasing we are, the more feminine we are. And the more feminine, the better, the more desirable. But actually, that makes us always put ourselves second or last in so many cases by the time we've married or had children. And even with our friendships, we feel guilty and unable to express our feelings and our emotions and to say if we like something or don't like something. Now, why that is, not just because of society, but if we are raised in a family that is dysfunctional, so whether that be alcohol abuse or any other kind of abuse, or just dysfunctional in not sharing emotions openly and properly in a healthy way, or the parents not having a good relationship with each other and using the child as a surrogate partner. And that usually happens if the couple aren't happy with each other and aren't happy generally in their life from their own trauma, their own past that hasn't been healed. And they're looking for that fulfillment from the child. They're looking for the child to complete them, to fill that gap. And that sort of love can be damaging. It may look like love, but actually it isn't, because it's fulfilling the needs of the parent. It's not fulfilling the needs of the child. And it can cause a lot of difficulties for the child later on in life, with relationships and with intimacy. So I'll read you some bits that are relevant about that and see if it resonates with you. There is nothing loving or caring about a close parent-child relationship when it services the needs and feelings of the parent rather than the child. An overwhelming responsibility is placed on a child who becomes the surrogate partner for a needy, lonely parent, and this burden interferes in normal development, resulting in later struggles for intimacy and commitment. There is no privilege in being cheated out of a childhood by being a parent's surrogate partner or continuing to be one as an adult. And there are effects of that, such as a love-hate relationship with one of your parents or both, emotional distance from the parent, guilt and confusion over your own personal needs, feelings of inadequacy, having multiple relationships, struggling with intimacy in your own relationships, difficulty with commitment, hasty commitments, jumping into things too quickly and then regretting it later, regret over past relationships, sexual dysfunction, so you might be shut down, or you might have addictive behaviors, and compulsions and addictions that could be of different kinds, to food perhaps, or starving yourself, or purging, etc., etc. So most parents are not malicious and are not aware of the effect they have on their children, because a part of their own childhood is buried within. Sadly, if one's own childhood is not seen for what it really was, the pain of these relationships gets passed on from one generation to the next. If parents never recover their own lost childhoods, their grief deepens. They continue to expect their children to be there for them the ways they wish their parents had been. When this expectation goes unmet, parents see their children as ungrateful, unloving, and selfish. The result heightens struggles between adult children and aging parents. In alcoholic or dysfunctional families, a pattern of codependency is formed. The unhealthy rules in a dysfunctional family makes healthy growth and change very difficult. Rules like it's not okay to talk about problems, feelings shouldn't be expressed openly, communication is best if indirect, be perfect, don't be selfish, do as I say, not as I do. And these rules make it difficult to be close or intimate. The codes of silence make families suffer from chronic tension and anxiety that works below the surface, believing that if problems aren't talked about, the tension will go away. It is hard to bond in a healthy way when this is how problems are dealt with. And the child can feel this energy, the unsaid things, but begins to mistrust their own feelings because they're told that there isn't anything, because everything is kept undercover, and maybe parents indirectly complain to the child about the other partner, but they never see them talk about it face to face with each other, the couple, in a mature way, and solve their own problems. And so the child learns that behaviour. A dissatisfied parent can easily turn to the child to get their emotional needs. The child lessens the parent's loneliness and helps the parent deny the breakdown in their marriage. The parent can channel his or her energy into the child, and the child feel like the parent's surrogate partner. And feeling like the surrogate partner is what creates codependency. And codependency, I will explain more in detail, brings up traits or creates traits in us that we think are part of our personality. We think that this over-caring, this over-worrying about everyone, trying to fix everybody's problems, trying to be there for people, trying to offer our help and advice, even if it's not asked for, sacrificing ourselves, all these traits we think are perhaps good and selfless because we've been told, especially as females, that they are good traits, can put us in danger a lot of the time with any kind of sexual harassment or situations where we feel that something's wrong and we're unsure, but because we're told that we must always be nice and we must always be polite, we tend to leave things to go so far because we don't want to say no, and we feel uncomfortable saying no, and we don't want to upset anyone, that we can get ourselves into some very difficult situations as children or as grown-up adults, just because it's really a struggle to say no or trust our own gut feelings about something. So the characteristics of codependency are so many, so I'll try and briefly cover some of them. The caretaking tendencies. Codependents may think and feel responsible for other people, for other people's feelings, thoughts, actions, choices, wants, needs, well-being, lack of well-being, and ultimate destiny. May feel anxiety, pity, and guilt when other people have a problem. Feel compelled, almost forced to help that person solve the problem, such as offering unwanted advice, giving a rapid-fire series of suggestions, or fixing feelings. Feel angry when their help isn't effective. Anticipate other people's needs. Wonder why others don't do the same for them. Find themselves saying yes when they mean no. Doing things they don't really want to be doing more than their fair share of the work, and doing things other people are capable of doing for themselves. Not know what they want and need, or if they do, tell themselves what they want and need is not important. Try to please others instead of themselves. Find it easier to feel and express anger about injustices done to others rather than injustices done to themselves. Feel safest when giving. Feel insecure and guilty when somebody gives to them. And when we see our mother behave in the same way, we also learn that that's how we should be. And I've found in cases where children have been molested, if they have a parent that is quite gutsy, if their mother is a role model that's very strong, that sticks up for herself, that tells people, you know, that there's boundaries and doesn't allow them to go beyond her boundary, says no to people, speaks up, then that child sees that strength and feels it's okay to do that themselves as well. But when they see their mother always people pleasing and always putting people before themselves and doing things that they don't want to do, and then when they come home they start complaining about it and how they didn't want to do that and how frustrated and resentful they are about it, but they do it anyway, having people over that they don't want to have over, but everyone puts on a polite face because it's more important to please the guests than themselves. That's what the child learns. So when they're in a scary situation where someone is perhaps trying to molest them, they don't speak up, they don't say no, they don't understand that there are boundaries or that they can do what they've seen their mother do, because the mother hasn't been that role model for them. So actually it doesn't serve us and it doesn't serve our children to allow ourselves to continue in this codependent way. And the only way to heal from that is, first of all, to see it, to realize it, to have empathy for that child that went through this experience with their parents, to have empathy for the parents who didn't know any better, who were just struggling with their own trauma and their own issues, and not to pass that on to our children, not to have them fill our gap and our needs and our loneliness and keep passing that on from generation to generation. So doing the inner work, healing the wounded child, understanding that these are not characteristics that have to stay, they're not part of your personality. You can learn to let them go and be an example to your children and for yourself is very important. So the next one is low self-worth. We can end up having low self-worth. Usually the codependents come from troubled, repressed or dysfunctional families. They deny their family was troubled, repressed or dysfunctional, blame themselves for everything, get angry, defensive, self-righteous and indignant when others blame and criticize them, reject compliments or praise, get depressed from a lack of compliments and praise. Of course, if you don't accept them, if you're always the one giving, you're never going to get them. People then learn not to do that, and then you feel resentful and even more unloved and lonely. So it's this awful cycle. Feel guilty about spending money on themselves or doing unnecessary or fun things for themselves, fear rejection, take things personally, have been victims of sexual, physical or emotional abuse, neglect, abandonment or alcoholism, feel like victims, wonder why they have a tough time making decisions, feel a lot of guilt, get artificial feelings of self-worth from helping others, settle for being needed. So usually as well, codependents are attracted to a partner who is needy or who has some sort of issue, because then they feel, well, if I'm needed, I'll be loved. But if I'm not needed, there is no worth in me just as I am for who I am. I need to be serving and giving in order to receive love. And that's a repetition of the dysfunctional relationship with the parent, thinking that if you forever fulfill their needs, forever give them what they need, you will finally receive the love that a child wants. Repression is another one, and many codependents push their thoughts and feelings out of their awareness because of fear and guilt, become afraid to let themselves be who they are, appear rigid and controlled. Another characteristic is obsession. They feel terribly anxious about problems and people, think and talk a lot about other people, feel unable to quit talking, thinking and worrying about other people or problems, focus all their energy on other people and problems, wonder why they never have any energy, wonder why they can't get things done. Another characteristic, controlling. Many codependents have lived through events and with people that were out of control, causing the codependent sorrow and disappointment. Become afraid to let other people be who they are and allow events to happen naturally. Don't see or deal with their fear of loss of control. Think they know best how things should turn out and how people should behave. Try to control events and people through helplessness, guilt, coercion, threats, advice giving, manipulation, or domination. And another characteristic, denial. Codependents tend to stay busy so they don't have to think about things. Get confused, get depressed or sick, go to doctors and get tranquilizers, become workaholics, spend money compulsively, overeat, believe lies, lie to themselves, wonder why they feel like they're going crazy. And dependency is a characteristic. They look for happiness outside themselves, feel terribly threatened by the loss of anything or person they think provides their happiness, didn't feel love and approval from their parents, often seek love from people incapable of loving, believe other people are never there for them, equate love with pain, lose interest in their own lives when they love. So absolutely just leave everything when they're in a relationship and give everything to the relationship. Leave bad relationships and form new ones that don't work either. Wonder if they will ever find love. Poor communication. Of course, they haven't learnt how to communicate properly from parents who don't communicate properly. So there's a lot of blame, threatening, coercion, begging, bribing, advice, don't say what they mean, don't mean what they say, don't know what they mean, talk too much, lie to protect and cover up for people they love, apologize for bothering people. They have weak boundaries is another characteristic. Keep letting people hurt them, wonder why they hurt so badly. There's a lack of trust is another characteristic. They don't trust themselves, don't trust their feelings, don't trust their decisions, don't trust other people, try to trust untrustworthy people. Anger is a characteristic. They're afraid of their own anger, are frightened of other people's anger, cry a lot, get depressed, overeat, get sick, do mean and nasty things to get even, act hostile, or have violent temper outbursts. Have been ashamed for feeling angry, feel safer with their anger than with hurt feelings. And there are so many characteristics. If any of them resonate with you, and if you're ready to start that inner work, then I would highly advise that you reach out and start some coaching and see what patterns in your life have repeated over and over and over because of those very things. And know that there is hope to change those characteristics that have always held you back. And it all starts with self-love and empathy and understanding how to do that for yourself, because looking for love always from the outside is going to make you feel always worried that you may lose it, and is going to put you possibly into some very dangerous situations or awkward situations where you just want to please in order to receive love, and can be manipulated by the wrong person, especially if you are always attracted to somebody who has issues, or somebody who to anyone else they would see a red flag immediately and keep away and put their boundaries. For a codependent, or for a person who has been in a relationship with their parents as a surrogate parent, they don't see those red flags. In fact, they will feel pangs of either desire to be with them or wanting to rescue them more so than anybody else. So I hope this has helped. I hope that it has enabled you to realize if any of that has ever been an issue for you and you've wondered why, you can start from today dealing with it and getting rid of those characteristics by becoming a stronger woman, tapping into your power, learning to say no, create boundaries, and have that self-love for yourself.